thanks, John, for that introduction. I will say at the get-go, I am going to play a few songs that go with this. I have links to various places where they did them, better versions of them on the internet. We can get video but no sound, so I brought the guitar, and hopefully nobody will be nobody's ears will burn from that. Okay, so the topic is this: that oil is still God's given gift, and it's based on some of my research. I like to look at the way that stories interact with technical knowledge in policy issues. And I did some research over the past couple summers in northwestern Pennsylvania, not far from Lake Erie, the town of Titusville, the Oil City, not far from Cleveland. But this is, the heart of what was the industrial area of development in the United States in the 19th century, the Gilded Age, and where oil was discovered in 1859. And these two images here kind of set the tone for what I'm talking about. This is a picture from 1859 of Edmund Drake, Colonel Edmund Drake, and his buddy Billy. I forget what Billy's first name. Well, Billy was his first name. He had another moniker like Coal Oil Billy or something. Standing in front of what was the first rig that went 69 point something inches down and found oil in underground in western Pennsylvania. This is on the other side is the Catholic Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania. And so what my assertion is that the discovery of oil and the oil age that we live in is almost as much a religious belief system as church. Both of the spires lifting towards him. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to push this here. Push that on there. Aim it at this.
No, this.
The other one, the one to the right.
No, it's not the one to the right.
Okay.
Well, I'll just do it for you.
The other way. All right, a little brief history here. We are in a technological age. That doesn't mean stuff works. Okay. So a little history before we get into this. Oil has been around, and it's been known as oil seeps throughout the world since the Bronze Age and before. Have been used, rubbed on the skin for medicinal purposes and other functions, but in very small quantities, just what was found seeping up through the ground. In 1855, this chemist, organic chemist in the Cleveland area, discovers that petroleum could be distilled. That is, you take what came out of those seeps and convert it in a way that it could be used for kerosene and cooking. And this picture on the side here for Vanity Fair is a joke. Prior to the discovery of oil, all illumination in the 19th century was by whale oil. And so this is a whale celebrating the fact that petroleum has been discovered. They're having their champagne ball. In 1859, Edmund Drake drilled the first oil well in Titusville. They're from Seneca Oil Company. There are various connections. There are lots of things going on. But he drilled it, went 69 feet down, and found oil. Now, what's significant about the year 1859 is one of the most pivotal years in the history for various reasons. One is we're right on the precipice of the Civil War, of course, in this country. We have the discovery of oil. We had in 1859 is John Brown's raid in Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. So, and at the same time, it's the Great Awakening, the religious revival that swept through the country. Lots of discussion about slavery and abolition, and in terms of how it related to the Protestant Christian tradition. 1859, on the other spectrum, is the publication of Charles Darwin's Origin of Species and Karl Marx's Capital. Critiques of the sort of common storyline that drove the whole American project and manifest destiny that came later. But that whole notion of the science sitting on the hill was the period of American greatness. 1870, J.D. Rockefeller then figures out, he establishes refining companies. These were pretty crude operations, basically like stills for making liquor, right? You boil it up, and you get different tiers. The bottom tier is asphalt. The top tier is more pure kerosene. And then in 1901, the Texas, everybody probably heard of Spindletop. They've got big gusher that blows out. In Beaumont, for example, Lucas Geyser, and the oil age really begins in earnest with Texas. And Texas does everything bigger. In 1908, in the Middle East, of course, we know where that all is taken on. So those are some key dates. Now I'm going to try this again, try to see what happens.
It's okay, I can do it for you.
Is this? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'll just do it for you.
All right. Here's Titusville. This is a simple map of where it is to orient it near the East Coast, in Baltimore, Washington, but consider Midwest as opposed to UC.
Oh, Pittsburgh's not in the West.
Well, I guess. Well, what is Pittsburgh considered?
Oh, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, who knows what anything.
It's on the board.
It's they'll rearrange all that anyway now that we have a new government coming in. They'll all be California and everybody else. Here's these are two pictures. Okay, this is after the discovery. It didn't take long. This is the euphoria period. Shortly after the gold rush, this was the next rush. And this is 1859 throughout the 1860s, and especially after the end of the Civil War, we got that terrible blight through our process. And look at the blight. And this is the development of along Oil Creek, which runs into the Allegheny. But here it is today. It's beautiful. And it's just that water is not cold. I don't know why. It's nice fishing. So things do recover in this environment. All of these speculators, the speculators came, of course, there was stock speculation and lots of workers that would come and bring the water. At first they floated the oil down on barges, or sort of wooden type of shallow draft barges. And all of this that occurred at the time. Now there's a museum on this site, the same place where we saw that picture. This is the exact same site that's recreated this oil there. And this is the inside of it. And you see that's how the first oil pumped out. This is run by coal heating that churned this the pump that drew a vacuum and pulled the oil out of the ground. They put oil down there now. Mixture of oil that they get from somewhere else and sort of to use as a part of the exhibit. So that's what it would look like. This is the birth. This is ground zero, the birth, the first day of the modern era. Looked just like that. There it is. Very nice 19th century appearance. It is flammable, large overcoat. Okay, and this. Again, we're talking about this sort of intersection of this technology and culture and religion. Here is essentially the tomb. Now, he died penniless, like a lot of these guys, and fortunes go up and down. But then they raised money and built this, and it has some of these quotations of various Greek gods. And there he is, almost like Thor with his hammer, just outside of Titusville. That's his grave. Okay, so from the beginning, oil was both an engineering and a spiritual marvel. It was technology and it was poetry. We tend to see these things now because of academic disciplines that dissipate into their ivory towers, and mechanical engineers are here, and different groups are here. But in the 19th century, it was more fluid. Darwin was a theological interest at first, as well as an exploration of natural scientists who are also philosophers, natural philosophy. So in this book from 1860, you see the mix. On the left is an ad for engines, drilling tools, and pipe, sort of oil field services. You see that all around this area, and especially down towards Carlsbad and eastern New Mexico. On the arrow on the right, it says the rock poured out rivers of oil. That's from the book of Job. So again, oil was used in the story of the the flood to line the bottom of Noah's Ark to keep it waterproof. So it had that heritage and tradition. Okay, go. And again, the same thing here. Here's a poem about old Menango's Hills and the Allegheny Mountains in that area. Talking about the discovery of oil. On one side of this booklet, that time period, on the other side, we have drawings of the pipes. Let's see, I'm tangled up here. I need to get in the middle. Okay. All right, so the early writing I'm saying was literary and sermonic. This is sketches in crude oil. John McLaren, who wrote this, was a newspaper writer, prolific writer, editor. And he's got the history of the world's lubricant, and it says, cheap and abundant, light, the island well on Oil Creek, assured the nations sitting in darkness. If there are tongues in trees, and sermons in stones, the trickling stream of greenish liquid murmured, bring on your lamps, we can fill them. You know, this is, again, it's poetry, it's quoted from Shakespeare about the majesty of oil. This is, again, right after the Civil War, and they were looking for something to feel good about. And again, the style from the very beginning is a mixture. It still is. We have engineers, but we have a religious devotion to oil. Okay. Reverend S.J. Eaton in Franklin, Pennsylvania, who was one of these naturalists, a theologian naturalist, and he wrote Petroleum, the History of the Oil Region. There's a church, that's a rebuilt after a fire, but that's essentially its church. I didn't plan it this way, but there is sort of a metaphor in there, or a paradox, with the wires, the electric wires, which of course are generated by natural gas and electricity, rising above the church. So the two are interacting there. Okay? And this is from, and hopefully you can see this, I'll read this. This is his discussion. It's theology and geology and engineering all woven together. So, and Eaton's argument, the big argument that people made was that, and again, remember the biblical story. You know, you're given the garden, you foul the garden, you get punished. You're given kings, the kings go off and do things with Jezebel and other people they shouldn't. And then the Israelites get punished. And then they come back. So it's a constant reestablishing the covenant and having the covenant broken. And that's really the story of the film. And now we have Christmas, where again, the new covenant. So it's always a case of covenants made, covenants broken with God. And it's the same kind of thing here. Oil was said to be the covenant that, or the gift from God for the sins of, that we paid for in the Civil War. Okay? So this is the song that comes out after, and here's the wording here. It says, the field is large, the supply is exhaustless. It has been given a product, it has evidently been a product of earth from the beginning. It has been one of God's gifts to his creatures, designed for their happiness, but kept locked up in his secret laboratory and developed only in accordance with their necessities. And now, on our own day, at these ends of the earth, the great treasure house has been unlocked, the seal broken, and the supply furnished most abundantly. God withheld this gift until we were ready for it, until we needed it, until we were atoned, we were ready for our atonement. And we're not going to give it up easily now. Look at all the big trucks out there and ask them what to do about it. Okay. And then up on the top, it has always been a feature of the economy of providence that the stores of his bounty are brought to light just as they are needed. The minerals of earth have lain hid in the bosom until absolutely needed. Men have walked over the gold fields of the world without discovering their value, until in the scheme of providence some great change was about to take place, requiring the treasures, and then it has been brought to light. And so it goes, then it says, only upon the middle there, a terrible struggle was approaching in which the nation's life should be at stake. Republican institutions would be on trial. Other nations are to be spectators of this terrible conflict. Not only blood, but treasure is to be poured out like water in the nation's cause. and in the cause of civil and religious liberty. And so God opens the storehouses and prepared against the day of sore trial. The gold fields of California, Nevada, and Idaho, and Arizona pour their riches into the nation's coffers. The fountains of petroleum gush forth in wondrous exuberance. Private enterprise is rewarded. The revenue of the government is wonderfully enlarged. Exports to foreign lands. Right? So this is what we're going to be given our gift after we've suffered. Okay. This is the Chautauqua series. Chautauqua was kind of a literary club of self-improvement, as much as I know. I'm very little about them. It was big in the 19th century. I see Mark back there probably knows tell me more about that. But here's from the Chautauqua. This is their geology text. People would get together for book to read geology text, so it wasn't 50 Shades of Grey then, it was this. And among this, coal, which is of course a fossil fuel like oil, but it was a different formation process, was laid down for man to fulfill the prophecies of the ages. And it says man is the fulfillment of the prophecies of the ages. This is destiny. Okay? This is destiny. It is destiny, that we have escalades on the streets today. I'm sorry if anybody hasn't. I was stop. Okay. Early histories read and sound like biblical origin. This is Herbert Ashbery, who wrote The Gangs of New York and other books in the 40s. But the history starts out as odd, mysterious Greece. It's almost like a chaos of one world, the Genesis. Since the beginning of recorded history, man has been doing himself with crude petroleum. Since the beginning, in the beginning, okay? And we can't play sound here, which is unfortunate, but I encourage everybody, this evolution of the oil industry videos from the Department of the Interior from the 50s. And it's that, if you remember, if you're old enough, some of you are, listen, if the documentaries in the 50s, land oil was brought upon the earth, and it was like the voice of God. It was always the male, dominant white male, we've heard of them, right? Who would tell us how it is. The voice of authority. And he's dictating the history of oil since the dawn of history. Okay. And so the reality is, we are all children of oil, descended from oil. I've read Genesis there. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. The earth was without form and void, and the darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, let there be oil. And the creatures of the sea, and there was oil. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea. Well, that's a parody a little bit, but it's not too far a stretch. In this day of post-truth, I'm making an edition of the Bible out like that, right? It may become the new version. We should say it. And look at the timeline. This is world population. Right now, where that little line goes down is the discovery of oil. Back there in the 1700s, we had coal, but it's minuscule compared. So take this room, divide it by 7. Six groups of 6 leave, and the other 1/7. That's what would be here without oil. We are descended from oil. That's the origin story. Okay, whether we like it or not, now whether we can go beyond that, I don't know. Just like the Bible, these stories unfold in the same way. Once you get this pattern of sin and redemption, covenant, broken covenant. Once you get this pattern, you get stories. So there's Rockefeller, King David, right? Who was the Israelites wanted a king. They got a king. The kings were they built palaces. They squandered their money. They womanized. They did all sorts of bad things, right? But they were also righteous in their own way. And John D. Rockefeller really sort of has that same thing. He was a product of the Great Awakening. And in this biography of Ron Chernow, biography, says John D. Rockefeller was drawn to the church, not as some nagging duty or obligation, but as something deeply refreshing to the soul. The Baptist church of his boyhood provided many clues to the secrets of his character. As a young man, he was raised on a steady diet of maxims, grounded in evangelical Protestantism that guided his conduct. We were all guided by maxims. Our whole election was maxims, right? It was just, lock her up, all these little sayings. That's what it is. We're not that clever. None of us are. Many of the puritanical attitudes which maybe seem antiquated to a later generation were merely the religious commonplaces of his boyhood. His Baptist upbringing also predisposed him to follow the cult of perpetual self-improvement, the sort of prosperity gospel that played such a prominent role in 19th century American culture, and the Industrial Revolution and the Gilded Age and everything else. And yet, like one of the fallen kings of Israel, the flawed king of Israel was also portrayed as a stock that was strangling the world and written about by the muckraking journalism and Ida Tarbell and others. So again, we're breaking the covenant with the giver. This is from a text from 1866 by William Wright, and basically he's saying, okay, you've gone too hog wild over oil. The church has been debased as an engine house with a derrick for its power, a well for its Bible, and a 2-inch tube for its preacher, with its mouth rotund. So this is a warning. Here's Jeremiah, here's a prophet who's saying, you have taken on false idols. Okay, God gave me this gift and you turned it into a false idol. I mean, the story is, it's really pretty remarkable. I don't know. And there was a lot of, at the same time, you can almost call it like psaltery or psalms, a lot of popular music that celebrated the arrival of oil. Well, I'm going to attempt to do a few of these, not the whole song, but just to give you a sense of it. As I said, I don't know, maybe this will go here. As I said, there was, well, I don't know, you point that over here, maybe that's just the best thing. I'll sort of stand here. This is a song. So as we have the growth of the development of the oil, pardon me, this setup was not somewhat impromptu. But I think this is important to get a sense of the euphoria that went with this. This is a book, Oil Fever Songbook. All the songs you would ever want about oil fever from the 19th century. And I'm going to do one of them, two of them maybe, part of them. I'll find it. Where's it? I've got it here somewhere. There it is. Okay, this was called Oil on the Brain. It was the first song that was really written to celebrate the oil, this discovery of oil. Okay, and what he's saying is that we think we've done so many wonderful things, but nothing beats the discovery of oil. But everybody has oil on the brain, and so they're chasing around, and the stocks are going up and down, fortunes are being made. The Yankees boast that they make clocks which just beat all creation. They never made one could keep time without great speculation. The stocks like clock go with a spring, wind up and down again. And all our strikes are sure to cause oil on the brain. Okay, and then they sing, stocks pause, stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain. And it goes through a bunch of these verses. You meet a friend on the street, he greets you with a smile, and then he says, I've just discovered oil, so this is the common vernacular. It was the gold rush euphoria, the mentality. Okay, now Kylie's doing multiple tasks here. Okay, So then we have, there's the Lucas Geyser song. When they discovered, and this one I'm not going to play a lot of because it's more for piano, but it's when Lucas discovered oil, and this is Texas, 1901. Of course, Texas is known for bragging for bravado. So the first line of this is, "Let me tell you of the greatest town the world has ever seen." And it's Beaumont, okay? Let me tell you of the greatest town the world has ever seen. I know you'll not believe it, you'll say it is a dream. But I'll tell you of the geyser that spouted up green oil. And it's right down here in Texas, in good old Beaumont soil. With 80,000 barrels spouting daily out the pipe, the railroads brought 1,000,000 in to see the wondrous sight. The oil spouted up so high you could not see the sun. It flowed in rivers, lakes, and streams. You ought to see it run. And then it goes on and on about how wondrous it was in Beaumont. And I've got a recording of this. Alexa Hoga's on, who does our music, plays it on the piano and says, "Put down, and it's just absolutely full of it, just grand euphoria of that time. It doesn't sound right on the guitar, but like I said, we don't have the thing. And then the other one, a later version. So we're celebrating all the way you could make money in oil as investors, but also there was just the euphoria of being working in the oil fields. So here's Tool Pusher from Snyder. Can we get the next page? That's got Slim Willett. Anybody heard Tool Pusher from Snyder? I got a gal in Snyder. She's a whole lot like town. She's bigger than she was a year ago, and she's had her ups and downs. I know she'll never marry me, but she's not duty bound. She says all I can think about is 10 miles underground. Now it's oil I'm after, that's why I'm driven down. I'm a tool pusher from Snyder, a little northwest of town. I drilled in Kilgore, Beaumont, Borger, this is the best I've found. I'll keep tool pushing on a rotary rig till I'm 6 feet underground. Okay. Slim Willett, so she's a whole lot like the town. Yeah, she says, but she'll never marry him because he's too smitten with her. Okay, so, and these are fun. I mean, this is fun stuff. Okay, what do we got now? Anything? But then there was the warning again, like in the song. Here's a song, and this is a classic dirge. This minor key dirge. Famous oil firms. There it is. So, warning of swindles. This is back in the 19th century. The name of these firms, and I don't ever get them right because they're really strange. There's Ketchum and Cheatham and Norham and Beatham and swindle them all in a row. There's Coatsum and Leadham and Leecham and Bleedham and guzzle them down in a row. There's Gollum and Skinner and Gammon and Sinner, a rascal in oily sun. With sponge 'em and fleece 'em and strip 'em and grease 'em and take 'em in brothers and run. Oh, oily firms pay in Pennsylvania. So, again, that's a dirge, it's like a funeral march or something. Very different than the other one, but it's like the names of all of these. There's watch 'em and nab 'em and knock 'em and grab 'em and lather 'em and shave 'em up well. All these talks of ways to immediately scandals. Some of the great history of the Texas oil business is some of this next is of these scandals. Okay, let's see how we go now. Okay, so and then also there's you can flip that. And then also we're entering into art. Now, this particular goddess, I'm sure that our dry cleaning bill, considering wearing that fine linen, whatever it is, inside of the gusher of the spindle. But there we are. This is in the Beaumont Dixie Hotel. I don't know where it is or what it is now. So, again, this sort of the veneration of work. But it also built nets of decadence. I mean, you go back again, you go back and forth again. We have the covenant, we have the violation of the covenant. And this is one of the violations. The painting oil field girls from 1940 when they entered the town and the prostitutes. There's also a nice song about that. Okay. And the Confounded Paradise. This novel is a wonderful novel that teaches Lucy Beauregard from 1941, a girl growing up in the Depression in South Texas, near, I guess, near Houston and near Beaumont. And she had a real environmental consciousness with Mary King, and the character was 13, and her mother had been divorced, she died. So she's with her itinerant father, who's riding around. He's a mule skinner who goes through different oil fields. And again, it's part of the lure of the romance of that. But she finds the pond was called the Slot Bowl. This was a pond where the oil ran off at the time. Judging by the trunks of the trees that it killed, it could hardly be over 3 or 4 feet deep, but no bird flew across it. The field looked like hell in the Bible. So again, you take this gift too far and you create your own hell. And again, this novel, if anybody's ever read it, is superb. Just real insight. You feel like you're in that time period. And I felt like a 13-year-old girl, and that didn't easy to make me feel that. Okay. But given that, it's still not easy to move beyond God's gifts. I mean, even though we realize this, that we're climate change now, which is sort of the theme of this group, but because it's so ingrained, it's so, again, it's almost like you could rewrite Genesis without a lot of work. It's not even that alien a concept. And you look at that map and say, well, okay, which ones of us wouldn't be here if we, and some people say, well, we need the oil to keep the developing world. They need to participate too. But it's also so ingrained in our psyche and our consciousness and our spirituality and our literary history. This is a recent economist after the election sort of saying, is there any hope for the environment in the new political arena? And then, they're saying that Republicans don't believe in climate change and so forth, some of the things, but there still may be, ironically, just like Nixon was able to go to China and they talk and go to the mountain and exchange things. And thought Moses exchanged the oil for windmills. Maybe that's the new problem. But it says here, fossil fuels stand for prosperity and freedom in the romance of the roughneck and the lure of the road. So that's, we know that people talk about their trucks. I mean, the Ford F-150 is the chariot. Right? It is freedom. It is freedom. And it's, we talk about putting everybody in little smart cars, and it sounds really like some weirdo comedy thing. Or even worse, mass transit. Okay. So then, especially if it's in our American blood, this was a rock'n'roll cowboy. Here's a photo that Bob Forbes sent me. It was a couple of years ago. Well, it was maybe last year. Oil prices have really gone down. They're back up a little bit. It's still low. So there's a prayer circle around the gas station in Littlefield praying for the price of oil to go up. Again, the boundary between religion and commerce in this country there's none. They're the same. Right? We're all more or less. And I wish I could play, I'm going to let Kylie do double duty here again. This is a great song, and I don't do it justice because I don't have a Texas cowboy accent or look. But since we can't get sound here,
let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a
we
colleague.
can't get sound, so I'm going to turn the sound on there. I'm going to let Kylie play the image. It's called In Our American Blood. And if you scroll oil patch songs, you can go all day on YouTube with songs that these cowboys have written from up in the Baku fields and or down here on the Eagle Ford or anywhere. I mean, it's a subgenre. It's occupational folklore, occupational mythology, writing, songwriting, that the railroads or whatever. It's a strong culture.
Do you want to play?
Yeah, go ahead. You leave the sound down, and then So it says this is a tribute to all the men and women who work on national fields. And I'll just sort of let that play, and I'll play it along. See where it starts out here. Belly of the bargain, it's cold and black and deep. You work the hitch, survive the time, no telling what you need. Some here are forgotten, and some will find their souls. Some will keep on searching, digging deeper holes. Whoa, 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 whoa. So here I am, against that cold Dakota wind. I know where I call home, but somehow I'm here again. These fields are in my mind, and these strains are on my skin. They don't wash off with the mud. It's in my American blood. In the belly of the bargain, it's cold and black and deep. You work the hitch, survive the time, no telling what you keep. Some here are forgotten, some will find their souls. Some will keep on searching, digging holes. So here I go against that cold Dakota wind. I know where I call home, but somehow I'm here again. These fields are in my mind, and these stains are on my skin. They don't wash off with the mud. It's in my American blood. There's other words to it that I don't think I brought on. So you see, you really need to listen to this guy, because I just comped those chords at the last minute. You really need to listen to these guys. I said, what these guys do, I mean, I landed London once while I was doing something else, and 20, 30, 40 minutes later, there's still different songs. Johnny Cash's song about the Roughnecks. This is a powerful, set of narratives that are associated with the work, which, going back again, if it's God's gift and it's in our blood, we're not going to decide we want to take another path. It's not without some loss. So that's my view.